appreciate everyone joining us for this Connected Design Roundtable. Excited to get together with a really awesome panel of individuals and just experts in this space. Obviously, we know the title. As you registered and saw, we are talking all about AI and AI in your workflow and how AI is going to impact our future as integrators, designers, architects, all in this great industry that we all work in. So my name is Rob Stott, editor-in-chief of Connected Design. I am super thrilled to be joined by an awesome panel. You see 3/4 of them. We've got Ari Supran, CEO of Sonance, Nick Donahue, CEO and founder of Drafted, Kyle Steele, founder and CEO of Global Wave, and there he is. He's walking around. He's coming on real quick. Alex Capecelatro, CEO of Josh. Alex is a trooper today, joining us, finding himself a quiet spot in an airport, always on the go. So, gentlemen, I appreciate you joining. Before we get rolling and we bring you all into this conversation, we're going to kick things off. We did a little research at Connected Design. We like to, as we do these roundtables, we like to have things where we got a little bit of research, kind of give ourselves some talking points and some data to kind of base these roundtable discussions off of. So we, not too long ago in May, conducted some research of our channel on our use of AI in this space, and wanted to share the findings of that research with you ahead of this call, to again set the stage for this discussion here over the next 45 minutes or so. Let me just one bit of housekeeping. We do have Q&A up and available, I believe, at the top of your screens. It should be up in the if you're on your desktop. I'm looking at my desktop. There's the chat function, or like all the functions for Microsoft Teams. There should be a Q&A button. And you can submit your questions there. We'll take a look throughout, and I'll make sure that, as we have time at the end, we're able to address questions that come up. All right, let's dive into the research. So of our survey, or our responses to the survey, obviously we wanted to gauge sort of how, widespread the use of AI tools are across our channel. Turns out a lot of you, nearly 8 in 10, are either experimenting or actively using on a daily basis AI tools in your business. So I mean, to me, that shows that these tools are being used, right? Like the numbers say it pretty clearly. Not many are not using AI tools. I think, in fact, it was just 10%. So you are finding in some way, whether it's just to test around, see if you're trying to find ways to, whether it's streamline your workflow or just try things out. It's clear to me, just based on the the response to this survey, that there is a need for education, I think, around how these tools can be used properly. And that's I think why one of the reasons we're all excited to be here today, because there are so many of us using AI tools in one way or another. So just making sure we can learn from one another on how we're implementing them, and maybe learn a thing or two about ways we're not using these tools to better use them. So how are we using them? It's clear that there's lots of potential use cases. So we wanted to find out what of those 80% that are experimenting or using it, in what ways are you trying to deploy these AI tools? And those early adopters, you can kind of tell. I don't know if he's actively in here right now, but I know Jason Sayin saw these results, and he's up there. his business and the proposals and workflows and documentation, all that sort of stuff. It's up there as far as where a lot of these tools are being deployed. Kind of those streamlining of communications and doing that bit of research. And I don't think anything on here is super surprising to us on the panel, but we'll dive into that a little bit further. But you can kind of see a good representation, I think, of how these tools are being used. So what tools? Got a little deeper in terms of asking where or what tools you guys are using. And I don't think knowing the, I want to say, popularity or just might be the best word, right? The tools that people know. It's not surprising, I don't think, to see the two names at the top, the two that are not too long from now going to be, holding their own IPOs and going public and only getting even more dollars to invest into their platforms and expand their capabilities. It's those large language models that are, dominating the sort of AI field as of right now. Did ask, are there there were other options of like smart home specific platforms or within your own business? Are you guys, building tools within your businesses to, sort of localize AI within what you do? And as of right now, maybe some of those that are experimenting with, I imagine they're sticking to these kind of the natural language or large language models that we see here. All right, where do the biggest opportunities lie? And again, not to call out Mr. Sayin, but that's where it seems like a lot of the need or the want is within our channel is those the documentation and figuring out where the efficiencies can be or need to be worked on within a business. That far and away was the most popular request, if anything, of how this channel or the professionals who responded to this survey wanted to get the most or wanted to get more out of the tools that they're using. I think you sort of those like the asking for help, right? And the guys, you can chime in too here as well. Kyle, I know you are a big user of, but the areas that like not the menial tasks or not the not important tasks, right? It's those ones that the time suck tasks, I think, that makes it not much of a surprise that you'd see the sort of the request for or the opportunity to have these types of tools, impact a business. That's kind of, I imagine, how they're ranked here.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing. We looked at AI within our company, not like what can AI do for us, but what are our true pain points where maybe we can use AI to address that. So it's not surprising to see proposals number one. Like one of my guys, Johnny, we've been working together for like 17 years, and he's just got so much on his plate. He knows everything about every client, all the techs call him, and I'm like, all right, so this is a bottleneck. You got to get bids out. And so we figured out it took them on average about 4 hours to get a bid out from start to finish. But it's much longer than 4 hours because he's always being interrupted. So that workflow is kind of broken.
Yep.
And now we've implemented some things where we can essentially discover a budget on that first job walk with the client. And then we added some other tools where now Johnny's down to 10 minutes to get a bid out. So there's definitely some benefits addressing that pain point for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we move on. So this was one, I think of all the questions that were asked on this survey, this was the one I was most interested to see the response to. What for those that either you're experimenting and haven't really, done more to get AI tools involved in your workflow or what it is you do. Why is that? Or if you haven't used them at all, what are the reasons why you haven't? And, what are the concerns around AI? And, job security, reason it's in here, how many of you are concerned about these tools replacing what you do? And it was actually kind of reassuring, I think, to see that, not a lot of fear. There wasn't a lot of fear around, AI replacing what, whether you're a designer, an architect, an integrator, replacing what you do. If anything, it was just, there's uncertainty around, again, why we're here today to learn about how these tools are being implemented or whether it's, as a business itself or, tools that you can use to streamline within your business. It's just uncertainty around it because it's whether it's because it's changing so fast or just you're not clear around, what the capabilities are or, things like that. The other side of it, I think another common concern amongst, anyone, especially in the, for me personally in the communication space and, seeing things that are out there, accuracy, you don't necessarily trust that it's feeding you back the best information, or if you're, a lot of, we see AI schlop, I know is a a term we hear a lot these days, particularly around video and things that it's producing. So if anything, it seems like most of the concern is just an understanding of it, its capabilities or ways to implement the tools versus, or in addition to that, the concerns around accuracy, which, there's something to be said about the human mind still needing to be involved in all of this.
And we just did a similar poll within Auzione. Kind of the same question. 93% are using AI, but only 17% are deploying it across their company. And I think there's still that unlock of AI can do things for you, not just ask it a question, then go on your browser or into your software and do it yourself. I think if people get that unlock, that 17% will skyrocket, because it's like, if it's doing stuff for me, it can do these things for my employees and my team members as well. And I think that's like kind of the missing gap is what we're seeing.
I couldn't agree more with Kyle on that. I think that the unlock on this uncertainty on how to use AI is that people aren't having that wow moment where they change their mindset from asking a question and getting an answer and getting into a mindset when they sit down with AI that the goal of every interaction should be to get something done, to delegate something to it. And I think that has everything to do with not necessarily using the right product. And I don't mean model, although that's part of it as well. I mean product. So anyone using ChatGPT Chat or Claude Chat versus products like Claude Cowork and OpenAI's Codex, which are a more advanced, more agentic system that you can actually delegate work to. I think that those people that haven't tried those tools simply are unaware of the ability for them to delegate something and have it done accurately. And so therefore they feel uncertain about how to use it, or they see no clear ROI, or many of these other factors. And I think that just has everything to do with them not having their own personal like wow moment with it. And then they start to see the pattern. Look what I just did. I got 7 other things just like that. And I got 20 people in my company that have 15 things just like that. And then the snowball just starts to go.
Yeah. What's funny, and kind of an example that, or, a way to relate it. You mentioned those different tools, right? The Codex versus just regular ChatGPT chat.
Right.
To me, it almost seems like maybe a way of super oversimplifying things, but like if you think about the photo editing capabilities of, say, Microsoft Paint versus Photoshop, like that's kind of the delta that exists between those two types of platforms, and what you're really capable of getting out of them, or again, maybe a way of oversimplifying it, but it's something to be said about just how much more complex and capable the systems are from one another.
That's right. I mean, AI is not one monolithic thing. You can't make these statements. AI can do this. AI can't do that. It depends what product you're using.
Yeah.
Something I encourage.
Alex.
I was just going to say briefly, keep in mind the slide's talking about the blockers.
Yep.
Most people today are not blocked, right? Most people listening, most people I talk to, they're using AI, as you talked about on the previous slide. So I think, these blockers, it's really a small percentage of our community. And more we're seeing people are doing things. I think we almost need to look on the other side. They're doing too much, where I'm worried they don't know the risk. They should be slowing down sometimes.
Right. Nick?
Yes. Something that I encourage a lot of our team members to do is just to try to do a fully autonomous workflow, taking some task and giving it as much ownership as possible over that process. I think to Ari's point, as people start to see its capabilities, their entire mind just shifts around what they do. And even if you don't end up having the AI sort of doing an entire workflow autonomously all the time, it's just the act of seeing that it's capable of doing these things just sort of reshapes and reframes what you believe you could actually get done with it. Yeah,
it's sort of building your own trust in it, right? That again, maybe it kind of goes to the accuracy concerns. That's sort of not a misconception, because it exists. There is accuracy, issues that I know we'll dive into. But the more you leverage the tools, or even train them around, what it is you do, the more likely they are to either, be accurate, but also kind of alleviate your concerns around its incapabilities, or the misconceptions you have around its capabilities. So all makes perfect sense. All right. So all of that said, the expectations are high around what this industry thinks as far as the potential impact and how quickly we'll start to see the impact of AI. And I say that I'm sort of speaking like we expect to see it. That's maybe a misnomer. We are seeing it. It's actively happening. So for those that think it's going to happen within the next 5 years, the potential I wouldn't wait 5 years. So that's for sure, to try to implement these tools and learn about AI and, the way these different tools can impact, your day-to-day work and just about every aspect of kind of what we do. But, there's certainly an understanding, at the very least, what we saw out of the survey, that a very large portion of this industry understands that, these tools are going to be transformational, if they aren't already. So,
I would say probably in 5 years, are we training the AI or is the AI training us?
Yes. Well, that's something to get into, because I know before we kicked this off and went live, Ari and I were kind of talking about the fact that, was it Anthropic, Ari, that came out and said that these tools are now starting to train, themselves, and it's getting a little ahead of.
Yes.
Yeah.
He suggested that we need to slow down as an industry.
Yeah, I think Stephen Hawking might have been onto something, telling us to avoid. So lots. I encourage you. There will be obviously a recording of this, but just some things you guys can ask. I say you guys, the attendees here. Everyone joining us. Some things you can think about. Questions to pose to yourselves around. How you can take an AI, like what you learned today, and start to implement it. So. There's the baby steps, right? You don't want to just dive right in, obviously, and think it, or start to, trust a platform that you're like, whatever it is. We're going to dive into a lot today, but, would just at the very least encourage you to take what you hear today, think about it, and try to implement it. Start on a very small scale, a personal level. Just become familiar with the tools or the processes that we kind of dive into, and then just start playing. I think that's the best way. If there's any bit of advice that comes out of today, and there may be a lot, but I would tell you that it's just to experiment and try these things out, try these tools, try to get yourself educated, or at the very least someone on your team educated, so that you can start taking advantage of these tools, because they are. With the panel we have here today, they've been transformational for each of these individuals I know, and I'm excited to dive into that now with them. But nothing to say that anyone on here can't have just as much of an impact on their own business by leveraging some of the things we'll dive into today. So with that, I know I briefly introduced y'all, but I'm going to give you the chance now to share a little bit about yourselves. And I feel like most people know most of you, and but not to say we can't give you all a little bit of a chance to talk about yourselves, your role, your company, and maybe one little bit about how you're using AI today. So we'll start. Nick, you're first on my screen on the left, so we'll let you dive into it first.
Awesome. I'm Nick. I run a startup called Drafted. We help people design houses using an AI that we train ourselves. If you are ever thinking about designing a home, whether that's for a spec build or your own personal house, you can go on the website, give it the model some basic constraints, and then it'll generate tons of different ideas and options for you to sort of like work through and figure out like what it is that you actually want to do. We allow you to export to CAD, PDF, IFC, different file types in case you want to use it in a workflow to like make things a lot faster. Prior to this, I ran a tech-enabled pre-construction service for about 7 years. And for Drafted, we're currently a team of 9, have raised about $17 million, and have had about 200,000 people use the site in the last 2 months.
Yeah, glad you brought up that last part. I was gonna say you're being a little humble because that news just broke of your recent round of funding that you guys closed. So congrats to you on that. That's incredible. I know that'll go a long way towards helping you guys achieve your goals. But a platform too that having messed around with it, I'm one of those 200,000 that have messed with it. So it has a very familiar feel. You think about these large language models and things like that, but a familiar feel as you're going through. Talk about it a little bit because you can kind of, you mentioned that it's a way to use the model that you guys have built to, basically, I don't want to say plug and play, but like you kind of pick some options of a home that you want, and it gives you lots of, different ideas and foundations for, these home designs that you've come up with.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally the ideation process, like working with an architect or a designer, can take weeks to get to some sort of somewhat finalized state. And so instead, now you can go in and see iterations spawn in front of you within 5, 10, 20 seconds, and then start giving it more feedback on how you want to change or adjust it. We take more of a design-centric approach, so it's probably a little bit more similar to CAD, but in a very user-friendly form. And so the goal is just to reduce down that pre-construction time, help people get to a design that they want to actually move forwards with a lot quicker without having to wait for someone to give back some results for you to react to. So the faster that feedback loop is, the shorter pre-construction is, the quicker you can get a client into your actual construction process and locked into a loan. And so our goal is just to shorten that time as much as possible and allow anyone to ideate and imagine and dream.
Yeah, a really cool tool. And I'd encourage you, if you want to learn more, obviously visit the Drafted site, drafted.ai. Or another option is to go dive into a podcast that Nick and I did not too long ago. That's on the Connected Design website. So a great interview, and excited to have you be a part of this today. Alex, we can skip over you if you're not set. I was just going to go in order, but if you are in a spot, we can go to you.
Yeah, no, I'm fully set up. You can see me, right?
Your camera is off.
Oh, interesting. I'll turn this one on. I think I have another camera. Do you not see the other one?
Not the one that is.
All right.
I see that one. Yep, it's on my second page.
All right. Well, I'll just go with two cameras.
Yeah, you're good.
One of them works. So Alex Capecelatro co-founded Josh.ai 11 years ago. We were so early in the AI game, .ai didn't really exist. We had to go over to the country of Anguilla to negotiate the domain. And we've been doing this stuff for a while. So we do a lot of foundational models. We do AI for our support team. We do it throughout various aspects of configuring homes. But we're probably most known for our voice assistant. So you can talk to Josh, have it control everything in your home, light, shades, music, you name it. And one of the things that we've been most focused on the last couple of years is figuring out ways to really save integrators time. So we love when we hear people say something used to take weeks or even days, and now it happens in just minutes because of what we built out. And I know I've heard Kyle tell me examples of that. Others bring it up all the time. So really big on how AI can streamline the home automation segment, the configuration, the support, the sales, and we've got various things baked out up and down the tech stack in the company.
That's awesome. And, celebrating 11 years this year for Josh.ai, right? So it's an awesome milestone. I know, exciting to see, how you guys continue to evolve that platform as well, adding new capabilities. And to your point, just at the end of the day, saving integrators time. Awesome. Speaking of integrators, we got Mr. Kyle Steele, founder and president of Global Wave Integration. Kyle, appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Nice to have me back. Nick, if you go on your website, there's some crazy guy trying to modify their treehouse. That's me. Very cool website, so congrats on that. But Kyle Steele, founder, president of Global Wave Integration, and founder, CEO of Future Care Solutions Group. Taking this call from our building in Burbank we bought back in 2019. It's kind of been our living lab and doing a lot of development out of here. I'll never forget our project manager, the day Chat GPT came out, he called me. He's like, I just discovered fire. And I was like, you sure did. And we leaned in extremely hard from that point on. So Future Care, we're really focused on care-enabled homes. Everyone knows smart homes, and we talk a lot about healthy homes and what that means, and we've developed apps for that. But we're really leaning in hard to care-enabled homes, which is providing support services for caregivers and peace of mind for loved ones.
That's awesome. And I know, too, I mentioned podcasts with Nick. You and I think the second one we ever did for Connected Design in this relaunch was with you and I. So, and we dove into a little bit about your use of AI. And I think we sort of teased it because we were going to plan on doing a follow-up that I know we'll still do. This doesn't count as the follow-up, by the way, so you're not off the hook for that. But also a great blog contribution not too long ago. So you could go search Kyle's name on Connected Design and find some great AI content for sure that we're appreciative of and excited again to have you on today. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Ari Supran, CEO of Sonance. Ari, appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me. So yeah, Ari Supran, CEO of Sonance. I've been at Sonance for 20 years this year and 10 years with Lutron prior to that. Let's see, we've gone deep into AI for the last 2+ years, built out our own AI team and have really activated about 20 to 30 people building internal apps in our company, solving problems throughout the entire company, from manufacturing to sales operations and everywhere in between. And we're definitely finding tremendous value from it and on a journey. Still have lots to prove to ourselves that we're heading down the right place, but seeing very, very good returns so far from our employees, telling us that we're saving them time, upskilling them, and enabling them to do more, and mostly to free up their time to do more value-added activities that take better care of our customers and our company.
That's awesome. Again, appreciate you being here. And for those that I'm excited to learn more, Ari, about your again, you mentioned the things you're doing internally. Those that are out on the road or, parts of groups and attend the group shows likely have seen Ari at those shows giving some, spewing lots of knowledge on AI tools and your use of them. So I know a great resource for any integrator that is looking for, information beyond this roundtable or beyond your own sort of exploration of ways to implement AI tools into your business. Ari is, very well versed in a lot of this, and not only because you're an advocate for it and a user of it, but very much exciting to see how Sonance is using these tools as well, and doing great work with it. Like a lot of great stuff that you've shown us. So I appreciate you being here. Cool. All right. Well, appreciate everyone being on the panel again, joining us. I want to go back around the room and just sort of give you guys the opportunity, the leap into AI, whether it's, I like talking about, and I know, kind of a tease here. We'll get to talk about Kyle and I again later on down the road at Cedia, our origin stories and how we got into this business. But I want to ask a similar question, but specifically around AI and your use of it. The first leap into AI, what was that like for you? Or, what was there any hurdles you had to get over as an individual to begin leveraging these tools and resources? And just give us a little bit of that right off the bat, and you can go in the same order, or if anyone is sparked to jump right on it, feel free.
I think I went pretty hard on it after our last CDO panel with Ari and Alex. I mean, I was like just blown away with everything they were doing. So then that kind of motivated me to really jump into it. And I was really looking at AI as like, what's an additional service we can provide to our clients that we're not currently, right? The easy lift for us was just selling power solutions like batteries. So we can take all that data, run it through AI, make it very digestible for the homeowner, where it's like, oh my gosh, we need to get this, to the point where I think the power category is going to be our largest revenue generating category this year. So I was really focused on that. I went to Lightapalooza, did a kind of a AI panel on power. And I'll never forget, I was at the airport, Ari called me. He's like, are you using Telegram? Are you doing, he's like listing off all these things. I'm like, whoa, I'm like trying to take notes and I'm on my computer. And then from that conversation, that's been my unlock, like using Telegram, and we can go through the stack. But I have this executive assistant now that like knows how I think. It's so natural language talking to it, and it does so much. Now that I've stamped it out on my Mac Mini, that my OpenClaw from my garage, we now have a Mac Mini at the office where we're building agents for team members. And my team, like every day, they're like, I didn't know how impactful this is going to be. And like how we interact with it on Slack, it just feels like another human. It jokes with us. It's like, it adds to the culture. And I never anticipated that. So it's all Ari's fault.
Blame Ari.
Hey, Kyle, can I guys ask a quick follow question?
Sure.
So I tend to be the guy who likes to oppose lots of views whenever I can. So
Yeah.
everyone here knows I love a lot about AI, but I'm also wearing a shirt that says, do not ask me about AI or I will kill myself, because I'm so tired of a lot of the dumb AI things that get brought up, and we'll get into some of it. So my question for you, Kyle, is I totally agree on the culture side. I totally agree on just nerding out, teching out, doing fun things. What about the bottom line? Have you seen a material impact on the business? And I'm asking because I think we need to be doing this even if it doesn't impact the bottom line, but I'm curious if it did for you.
Yeah, great question. I mean, because I spend so much time on AI. I'm like, what is the ROI? But going back to my guy, Johnny, where he's so inundated with all these tasks that shouldn't be on his plate, I'm like, how much time do you think we've gotten back in your day? He's like, at least 30%. So it's not empirical to the point of data, but just the feedback. And I think more importantly is the peace of mind. Like, I know Ari uses this all the time, but like triage my day. Just the peace of mind I get every morning where it lays out my day. Oh, you have a gap between 1 and 3. Why don't you work on this business development? And just as an owner, like it's hard what we do as an integrator. There's so much going on. And for like the AI to filter out the noise, I mean, I would pay any amount of money just for that, right? Just to have that clarity when I wake up in the morning, I get my morning report, financials, everything just in one dashboard. And I mean, you just can't put a dollar amount on that for me, for that peace of mind. But I'm trying to figure out the ROI with our team. Like, how much time is this saving you? And they're all like, this is more than I expected, is the feedback I get.
Yeah, my challenge I'll throw out to everyone on the panel as well as everyone listening is I say to my team, we're going to double the business this year. We're not going to double the team. How do we double the business with the help of AI without adding headcount? And, you know, I think, Kyle, hold yourselves accountable to where were we in 24, 25, and 26? How do we double the business with the team we have? That's where this thing is going to really make an impact.
100%.
Yeah, I love that. Nick, I saw you wanting to pipe up too.
Yeah, some additional thoughts that come to mind. It's interesting because I see a lot of people talking about how, like, you know, entry-level jobs are going away and like hiring the bottom line is changing to where it's much more seniority. I don't really agree with that. Something that's been very impactful for us is actually seeing how much it empowers someone who's just getting started, like the amount that it levels up their work, especially like that gap between, you know, for a senior person, they can do much, much more work. But now like an entry-level person is able to do work that at a senior level that traditionally would have been extremely costly from a bottom line perspective. To your original question, I actually got to use like and see some of the first ever like Mid-Journey images that got generated. Like David's a very close friend of mine. I got to see the very first like chat functionality for ChatGPT, like I know Sam pretty well. And just that seeing the evolution of these models over time, like it was pretty clear that this was going to be extremely disruptive to everyone's workflows in all parts of life. And I think back then I was very worried at first, like very scared, very nervous to even like want to adopt it, just because it felt like the trajectory of my career or my life was like changing so rapidly and so much. Like the act of having to rethink what my future looks like when it felt like such a clear path in front of me was like daunting and terrifying. But then like very quickly after like using it and getting used to it and seeing how that thing helped me evolve and like better my own life, it just like became more of like a friendly companion that could help in any sort of work that I saw that was important. And that was just like a very transformative moment for me.
Two thoughts come to mind there for me. One is that, so basically what I'm hearing you say is that all these graduates that are booing the keynote speakers need to just hit pause and give it a chance. But then also the other side of it is, I think of, we're also sitting here one day after Apple just had their WWDC keynote, and we saw kind of the drastic evolution, the much needed evolution of Siri and the Siri AI capabilities. I know it's very fresh, a lot to still dive into there, but the fact that they're always the last, it feels like the last to adopt some sort of direction of technology, right? But the ones that seem to perfect it and then treat it like a brand new innovation. I think anyone kind of common of Apple, right? But at the same time, it goes to show, right, the fact that they are willing to go down that path of turning Siri into this sort of very conversational on-device program or a model for them. The fact that they're leaning heavily into it and hoping, not hoping. I think they expect that their consumers will start to use, Siri in a way that is much more natural or impactful just from a day-to-day basis with device use. So, Alex, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, no, I think it's all right. I just wanted to actually answer your question rather than just respond to Kyle's.
Yeah.
And I think this will be good for the listeners. As Ari and Kyle and Nick can share, the light bulb doesn't go off once. It goes off every time you figure out there's another unlock, there's another opportunity, there's another tool. And for me, it's been over a decade of lots of light bulbs, but the most recent one is the one that really got my team's light bulb to go off, which is we've used lots of different AI protocols and tools and whatnot for building a product or a technology, but it was always still sort of a traditional way of building. We have programmers writing code and the AI would assist in different ways. But over a weekend, a couple of months ago, I was under the weather and just needed a little break from my typical work. I decided to see if I can just build a ground up app from nothing, design, build, get it fully deployed over a weekend. I was utilizing Claude. I actually started off using ChatGPT, which was complete garbage. I tried Gemini. That didn't work either. By the way, ChatGPT with Codex has now gotten better, but back then it wasn't so good just a few months ago. But Claude was just phenomenal. And I was able to go from, I've done a lot of coding, but I've not built in Swift. I've not built a native iOS app. I've not shipped to the App Store on my own without a team of people. And to do the whole thing on my own was just a really fun experience. But what the light bulb going off was not just that. It was me going to individuals on my team the following week and saying, hey, here's some of the stuff that I was able to do. Maybe this can help what you're doing. And for a lot of my engineers, they're prideful, they're smart, they've got top engineering degrees from top schools. Getting them to accept AI can supercharge what they're doing was actually a slower adoption than people who don't know how to code at all. It's kind of like the vibe coding world was poo-pooed upon and they were, more purist. And the fact that I got my top engineers now fully embracing using AI to supercharge what they're doing because of me spending a weekend building an app, that was the most recent light bulb that I recommend all of you try to do the same.
Yeah, Ari?
Yeah, I would totally agree with what Alex said. And back to what Kyle said, I think that when you think about are these companies, whether they're vendors or integrators or software companies, are you getting an ROI on this? I think that anybody I know that has made the steps up the ladder of unlocks, going from chat over to a more agentic system like Cowork, then another step up to actually building apps with something like Cloud Code or Codex for internal use, and then another step up to building agents like Kyle was referring to earlier. I think anybody who's made those steps up is going to have a very easy answer to, are we getting an ROI on this? I know at Sonance, we're building internal app tools for $2,000 of tokens that would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and taken 9 months or more to build. And we're using them with benefit in more efficiency, transparency across our factory, across our sales operations, and so many other parts of the business. And so for us, there's just no question we're getting a value for what we're doing.
That's awesome. Kyle, before I let you go, I want to point out, I know the time on this only says 12:45. I'm hoping there's not an automatic shutoff. I didn't set it up that way to be an automatic shutoff. So for anyone worried that we're going to finish up in the next 4 minutes, as long as Teams doesn't boot us, and you guys are all right to continue to go. We are going to continue to go because there's clearly a lot to talk about with this topic. So Kyle, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, just real quick question for all three of you, just because some I've been toying with. How do you guys compensate tokens for your engineers or team members? Like I have a few team members, this is all they do all day long. They just live in AI tools, which cost tokens. But do you guys have a policy on how you pay for that? Or is it just go and you just pay the bill? Or I know some tech companies are hiring engineers and they give half their salary on top of their package, like in tokens or something like that. So
interesting.
I'll take a stab at that one.
Yeah.
Like we're on a journey, Kyle. We're still trying to figure out what our actual spend is going to be. We just moved this week actually from and we're trying to stay model agnostic and doing some things that will keep us agnostic, but we're leaning into Anthropic and have been for the last over a year now. I got 116 employees now on an Anthropic enterprise plan. The enterprise plan gives us much more visibility into who's using how much per day, per week, et cetera. And so now that we have that visibility more, we can enable supervisors to talk to their employees about what value are we getting. As far as like coding though, we have some power users that we just know that the tools that they're building are worth so much more than the tokens that they're consuming. And we've just made the investment, right? We've just, we believe in it, and we're going to continue down this path until we can prove to ourselves that we can get a significant return on this. And if we can't, we'll adjust.
Yeah, we're pretty similar. I always laugh when I see the headlines of companies incentivizing, token maxing, and to me, use what you need to build what you need to build, but using tokens just to maximize the count, I think that's kind of ridiculous.
Agreed.
It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think you said it. We're all on this journey. So.
Yeah, Nick.
The high-end subscriptions also give you a lot of tokens. Like I would suspect that a lot of your employees are not going to be maxing out, at least if they're doing coding specifically. Like to max it out is a lot of coding. So
yeah.
But for the like power users, for us, I don't know if we're supposed to do this, but I know one of my team members has like 2 or 3 per tier subscriptions, right, and they're using those in parallel all the time. So
well, the kind of thinking about more broadly the audience here and attendees of this, as far as Ari, you kind of talked about how you guys have started to lean more heavily into Anthropic because of the things you've been doing there. As far as choosing a platform, like what are some of the things or advice you'd offer to listeners here as far as, what would be right for them, or how do you approach the process of, picking one? Or Kyle, like to you got a tech stack that you use. Like, how did you determine which tools, to ultimately to go with? And Alex, I see a hand up, so I'll let you tackle it.
Oh, sure. I didn't need to go first, but just wanted to share whatever you decide. It doesn't matter if you're just starting out, just get started. And number 2, do not get locked in. It's amazing how Gemini with Nano Banana was the best image generator up until a couple months ago. Now ChatGPT has surpassed them and it's much better. And so whatever you do, be prepared to switch, be prepared to, push your team to not just get locked into whatever single thing they're using. And I know there's some of these tools that are even built on top of the foundational model. So you don't need to care. It'll redirect and it'll use multiple tools. I'm not doing a lot at that level. I'm curious, maybe Kyle or Nick, if you guys are. But for me, the main thing is just get started with anything. It really doesn't matter in the beginning. And as you start doing more and more complicated projects, you're going to figure out when the tools are hitting their limits, and you use the tools to find other tools.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Alex. I definitely try to stay agnostic as much as possible. And again, we've leaned into Anthropic, but we're doing some things in the background to make sure that we can switch if we ever need to. So what's a good example of that? We're building out a knowledge graph of all of our context of our business outside of the memory of any one of these frontier products so that we can switch. Same thing on agent frameworks, whether it's OpenClaw, Hermes, Cloud Managed Agents, same thing. We're putting our context and our memories not in those frameworks, but into a separate Sonance owned vault so that we can hot swap models, hot swap agent frameworks in the future, and not have to start over every time. And then lastly, to your point, Alex, about some of these tools that are more routing to different models, definitely see the one I think is the best out there is Perplexity's personal computer or Perplexity computer product. And that is what it's so good at, is it's constantly aware of the 19 different models that it can use and which is best for image generation or video editing or whatever it might be. And you just feed it a task to do, and it automatically decides which combination of models to use in a workflow to get stuff done for you. And again, I just can't emphasize this enough to listeners. If you're still sitting down with AI, doesn't matter if it's Claude, ChatGPT, or Gemini, asking questions, looking for answers, you're just not using it to its abilities yet. You really need to be going up to these systems like Cowork, Codex, Perplexity Computer, where you can delegate a task to it and it can agentically use multiple tools, if necessary, multiple models to, again, get stuff done. And as soon as you change that, you see the power of that, your mindset changes and you go from this, I don't know what I would use AI for, to what would I not use it for? And I think that's the biggest unlock that you can have.
Yeah. Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think just jump into Cowork, try that out. I mean, it's called Cowork for a reason. It's truly a co-worker. I believe Claude Code built Cowork because it was more friendly, I believe.
That's right.
But I think the first thing, like that was, like Alex said, you have all these unlocks and just mind-blowing moments. But I think I asked Cowork just a prompt of like, I want to build a real estate inspection report for technology. So when someone buys a home, sells a home, we can generate this technology report, the status of the home. And it kind of laid out everything that I should do. And then at the very bottom said, do you just want me to do it for you? Build it? I was like, yeah. And it spit out this website and it's fully functional. And I literally did nothing. It just took all our files, you point it in the right direction, and it just went to work. And it's a live website. I haven't even touched it yet. It's just incredible. Just tell it to do something.
Yeah. There's a good question in the chat, because not only is it a good question because I want you guys to address it, but also it reminded me about our pre-call conversation, and that's Mary Ellen's point on Copilot. And Alex, that reminds me that was, you felt the term that best describes how, people should approach using these tools as a Copilot, as opposed to, just kind of using it as the set it and forget it, type of instant cooker, right? So the question is to ask each of you about, your thoughts on that as a platform, but also I wanted to remind us of that great example or, use of Copilot as a term for how we should be using these tools.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm glad that you segued the question into the concept, because I think it's important for us to all realize we see these headlines, we understand to a certain extent where it's heading. And yes, it is going to be much more autonomous as we get, further along. Today, though, I don't think it's there. I understand some people can utilize agents to do certain things, but mostly it is a co-pilot. It's an assistant that helps you as a human do the work that you're doing. So whatever you're looking at, to me, it's that second, coworker right next to you, helping you move faster and get done what you need. Now, that being said, there are many times I'll start a task, walk away, come back hours later, and it's still chugging away doing the work for me. So I'm not saying there isn't agentic actions, but I like to be involved. I don't know if that'll be true 2 years from now. But today, the co-pilot idea is very much where I think we are. In terms of the specific product co-pilot, again, I don't think it matters. Use whatever's free, use whatever's comfortable, use whatever's readily available. As you use it more, you're going to start to find its breaking points, its limitations, and you'll look for what else is out there. But just start with whatever's right in front of you.
Yeah, I love that.
I would add too that there's a whole new interoperability of software that didn't exist before that I think is changing the landscape tremendously, right? We were a Microsoft shop at Sonance. So I remember 3 years ago saying, or maybe it was 2.5 years ago, oh, well, we're going to just try to lean into Microsoft, and Copilot's going to be this thing that's just going to unlock everything for us. And I shudder to think where we would be had I just stuck with that and said, nope, we're not going to try Claude. We're not going to try anything else. We're just going to use Copilot. And I have heard that it's gotten a lot better recently, but I think, and I hear this all the time from friends and customers, oh, well, we're a Google shop, so we just use Gemini. as if you can't use Claude with the Google Suite. Of course you can. And there's just this, through these connectors that are this model context protocol or connectors that exist now, there is just a newfound interoperability that is, I think changing everything from I need to have everything provided from one vendor to I'm going to use best in class and integrate these things together. And I'll just add too, because I'm on this topic of connectors, like everyone's version, even if we're using the same product, right? We could both be using Claude Cowork, but I liken it to a start of a video game when you start to outfit your character with a shield and weapons, right? When I start with Cowork, I've given it access to my Outlook and my Teams and my Asana. I've given it skills that my company has written for us that we share across the company. And I've upskilled my agent to the ability to help me in a deeper, better way than just using it raw. And I recognize that everyone's like, well, I wouldn't give it access to my email. We've taken the risk and we've had no issues. And we're just seeing tremendous unlocks from connecting these products to our traditional SaaS products of Outlook, Teams, Asana, and others.
Yeah. It makes me think of what Clippy could have been back in the day, right? Like, was that the original AI agent for Microsoft? Is that Clippy? Oh, Nick, did you want to add to that? Not to the Clippy point, to Copilot.
Yeah, now there's Clicky, so
Yeah,
that's, I guess, the evolution. Yeah, I mean, I've been, to the autonomy point, I've been messing around a lot more with being able to create and set up like workflows inside of Codex. They do have these like timed automations that you can set up with your agent that will take on like a repetitive task at a certain day, a certain time. Like maybe it's going and like gathering a list of people to outreach to on LinkedIn, or maybe it's filling out or updating some sort of information like data wise. And I've been trying to get more and more into just those like repetitive tasks that happen regularly and making sure that there's like automation set up for those. And I find that it works extremely well, especially when it does have the proper context. Like to Ari's point, I think that's probably the biggest piece of it. Is just like the more these agents can gain context of your workflow, of your company, of the people you're interacting with, like its ability to do things well just drastically increases.
Yeah.
I would agree with that completely. I've just been saying this a lot lately, that I think the models today, Opus 4.8, GPT 5.5, are already smart enough and capable enough for almost every piece of knowledge work that my company needs to do. What the unlock is people being aware of what's possible, getting the context right so that they can inject the context of our business and our workflows into everything AI does, and getting our data accurate, clean, accessible, and intuitive so that we can connect these models to context and data. And really, just like an employee, right? They come in with a smart brain, but they're not that helpful until we teach them about the context of the business. We give them access to the tools like email and calendars and things like that. And then we give it some SOPs or skills of how we like to do things. And then all of a sudden, there's nothing we can't ask them to do. And I think that's the same with AI.
So Kyle, a great real world example of, having implemented a lot of these tools. And I'm interested, you mentioned a little bit ago about the stack that you guys use. I think it might be cool to hear, what is that stack? How are you guys using it? And then maybe even, I know you talked about having you guys employ a lot of agents, throughout the business. Is there one in particular that stands out that you could provide as an example of, without, again, I don't know if it gets too much into like secret sauce for you guys, right? Like, is it a competitive advantage? But like, could you provide an example of one that, could have the most impact?
I mean, it's a good question about competitive advantage, but I love talking to integrators about this because as an integrator, it is our job. I mean, that's our role. What is the latest, greatest that we're putting in homes? Well, operationally, what's the latest, greatest? We should be using these tools. But there's 3 agents that stand out. There's Samantha, who's my executive assistant. And then I use 11 Labs. She has the voice of Martha Stewart, so we can talk to each other, which is great. She feeds into my Open Cloud. That's on my Mac Mini. I'm now using Obsidian kind of as like my Cortex, kind of the knowledge base where we dump everything into that. I was on OpenAI, and that's when we created our brand voice. And then I realized how important your brand voice truly is. So I absorbed that, put it into co-work, and then co-work really started asking me some questions. And I always said, if Global Wave is about me, it fails. I always said that. But now I realize, well, how is Global Wave created? Like, what was my mindset? What was that process? And just feed everything into it. So now it learns like how I think. And then co-work really got valuable at that point. The agents were very specific to what the needs were. So Samantha, I mean, I can just talk to her and she knows everything about my like personal life, my work, all this stuff. So that's kind of locked out from the team. And then we built Grayson to address that pain point for Johnny because he had all these tasks coming in. And so Grayson's getting really good at interacting with the team through Slack. And it's another instance of OpenClaw that lives here at the office on a Mac Mini. And it's constantly like engaging on like the D Tools channel and all the Slack channels. So it's grabbing all this information, storing it in the knowledge base. Johnny's getting his time back. Techs aren't calling around like tech support. They're getting answers from Grayson on the spot. And all that information is being absorbed in our knowledge base. So Grayson is kind of helping out everybody on the team, like even our warehouse manager, ordering, that's all logged into what project. So it's becoming like this super app for our operations. And then our third one is kind of like our brand voice agent in the showroom, Waverly. So when we do demos, we have clients come in, it can kind of interact with clients. Being big on the care-enabled home, what does that mean? Like even the other day, I don't even know how Waverly did this, and we have multiple control systems in our showroom, but a wellness consultant came in and says, wow, the showroom feels like a warm hug. I was like, oh, that's a compliment. And I was like, Waverly, just make the room warmer, not knowing what it was going to do. It dimmed all the lights, different manufacturers down to 3,000 Kelvin, dimmed them a little bit, and then turned on the heat. And I have like no idea how it's so Waverly is just off and running. Samantha's helping me and Grayson's just kind of helping out the team right now. But the next step is building agents that can build their own sub-agents, and then the agents can manage those sub-agents. So they're always just building in the background.
Wow.
If I could interject, Kyle, to your agent like Grayson, I think people might misconstrue that as just a chat bot, that you've given it a set of knowledge and then you can ask questions of it. But it's so much more than that, because it's actively reading what's happening in your Slack channels. It has a persistent memory. And so as you give it more information and you say, well, no, actually, I don't want Joe to go to that project here because he lives too far away, it records that piece of information and will adjust going forward. And I think that particularly, Kyle's using OpenClaw. We've used OpenClaw as well as Hermes agents, and their ability to learn and self-improve over time with their persistent memory. And again, for us, that persistent memory, like Kyle, goes into a knowledge graph that's separate from its internal memory. That is really, to me, a huge unlock. And then you start to realize this is truly a coworker that is learning, accessing information in real time, and getting better and better at their job of being an assistant to a team over time. And I think that is definitely going to be a part of the future. This is not agents to replace people. These are coworkers.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the question, I think, comes up, and it was asked on the side here, too. So I'm kind of bringing in half of someone's question here. The security of the data, like your guys' data and what you're feeding, like, do you have, or apparently not. I was gonna say, you don't have reservations around, feeding it or allowing it access to, things like company data, or are you giving it access, or, is it localized so that none of this is leaving your building? Like, talk through that a little bit.
I can just a quick note on that. Like, yes, security is always a concern, but that's one of the reasons I really like Obsidian, because it's localized on that Mac Mini. You can opt to put it in iCloud so you can access it from any device, but I think in terms of not living in the cloud, Obsidian's a good solution. I think Google just announced yesterday they have like a Obsidian killer with their Notebook LM upgrade. So, I mean, it's changing constantly, but that's how we addressed it, at least.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for us, we're on enterprise plans with frontier models, and we're certainly also been experimenting with local models, running agents locally with open source models, where your information is never leaving the computer that it's on. And so I think that is a big part of the future as well, as these open source models become more powerful, smaller, that will have this concept of ambient intelligence, where you'll have an agent that runs 24/7 for the cost of electricity. And we're seeing already some applications for that. But as these models, like I said, these open source models get better over time, I think that is a part of the future in a more secure way as well.
Yeah. Alex?
I'll just add a couple quick points, then I'll have a question for Ari at the end. Kyle's system, Samantha, 3 of our first systems a decade ago were Samantha, Scarlett, and Theodore, characters from the movie Her. Is that where Samantha came from for you?
For me?
Yeah.
No, actually, it was right before Alexa. So working on future care solutions, I found a far field microphone from Japan, and I just named it Samantha. It was like a year before Alexa. And I think I named it Samantha again just to kind of dig at my wife, because when I was like testing the microphone, I'm like laying on the ground, I'm like, Samantha, I can't get up. She's like, I swear to God, if you say Samantha one more time, I'm throwing you out of the house. So I guess it's just my constant dig at my lovely wife.
Got it. So if you go and rewatch the movie Her, which was some of the original concepts around what we see, OpenAI is kind of copied. They got sued or threatened to sue by Scarlett Johansson for that. That character's name was Samantha rather. On the security side, my main thing I want to emphasize is I've been in technology a long time, and there's one thing I believe to be true, which is the parent company's motives will always influence whatever the product is doing. And so if you think about what is Google doing with your data, what is Amazon doing with your data, what is Apple doing with your data, what is Elon Musk with Grok doing with your data, if you believe that you trust the parent company, then I don't have any issues trusting the AI. If you think the parent company has proven time and time again to use your data in ways that they didn't make obvious in the beginning, they will keep doing that. And that has been true of every product I've seen launched in the last 15 years. So that's my main thought around data. Question for Ari is, on the knowledge graph side, are you also a fan of Obsidian, or did you roll your own, or use something else, if you want to share?
Yeah, no, sure. Good question. So we've got numerous individuals like myself using Obsidian as experiments with our own agents and our own co-work as a knowledge graph while we are building our own. Why not use Obsidian? Obsidian has a limit of the number of seats that can access the knowledge graph. I think it's 25. We have 360 employees. So we're building our own using Neo4j and Voyage AI, and it's still being built. So I again, still have lots to prove to ourselves that this is the right path for us. But the concept of a knowledge graph, if anyone out there hasn't, I mean, it seems to be all the rage in AI, and it makes sense, right? That you're going to capture all this context in one place that's not specific to any one model or frontier company, but own it yourself and then use it. And that I think is the biggest enabler of staying model agnostic.
Love that. To very briefly go back to the data point, Nick, I know you and I, this actually came up during our discussion, around during our podcast rather, on the topic of the comfort level or what you are seeing, because you guys are a platform, right? So you get feedback from those that are providing this type of information to you. And I think I posed the direct question, like, have you had anyone come to you and ask questions or feel uneasy about it? As a platform, where people are providing this, what I'd give you the chance here to kind of address that. What are you hearing from consumers and those out there?
Yeah, I mean, not really much related to like data and security. I mean, we're helping people design houses, so it's I wouldn't say it's the most like privacy centric domain, but I think a lot of the concerns are usually more oriented around like architects and designers feeling like they're, going to lose their jobs or whatever that may be. And I think the thing I always bring it back to is, vibe coding has really taken off over the past few years. And we've seen that while, yes, it has enabled people to go from, 0 to 1, like people who never coded before, would never have coded before, suddenly being able to develop entire products and platforms like now suddenly can do it for the first time. It also is like enabling people to, who know how to do it to go from like 1 to 1,000 and much, much, much further. And that idea that just because other people can now do it means you won't have a job, I think is like very far away from it. And that's probably the biggest criticism or critique or concern I get, being a product that allows anyone to design. But yeah, I also do have to run to a meeting as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know we're
Alex,
running.
no.
I know we're running, so I want to be conscious of everyone's time. Alex, go for it.
Yeah. I just want to make a quick final note for me. Maybe we can just do a quick round robin of final thoughts.
Yep.
I just want everyone listening to be aware, yes, AI is great. Yes, we're all big advocates on the panel. And yes, you can do great things. It is still not perfect. The idea of hallucinations have gotten better, but it's still much worse when it's impacting your business. And so we don't have time to go into the specific details, but I'll just share. And I know our pre-call, we talked about some of this last time. There are numerous times that AI will tell you it did something, something is done, something is, correct. And if you actually inspect the answer, the math was wrong, the data was wrong, the response was wrong. And it'll often say, oh, you're right. Sorry, I was wrong. But the thing it told you was right. If you just moved on assuming it was correct, you would have made a big business mistake in some cases. Now, that's not always what's happening, but I just want people to be aware there is some risk. It doesn't mean don't use it, but it means check the answer as though this were an employee presenting you a business plan. Does it add up? Does it make sense? Is it logical? If not, maybe question a little bit. And often you'll see the AI come back and say, oh, you're right. I forgot that math has to be positive or something.
Right. And I think that goes back to why it's such a great co-pilot is such a great term, as a platform, because it's not something that, again, to your point and everything you're saying there, like question it, right? It's a great, call it a crutch, if you will, something to help you along the way, as opposed to just handing it the keys and say, go drive me. And we see what's happening with Waymo when you let, AI take the wheel. So there's still challenges to be had for sure. I'll give you guys the chance. Alex, that could be kind of your final thoughts if you want, but go around the room. We could keep going for hours, I know, and certainly maybe we'll do another one down the line, but give you all a chance to kind of give final thoughts and wrap this up as a roundtable. So, Ari, I'm just going to go around clockwise.
All right.
If you want to hit it.
Maybe I'll wrap up with a counterpoint to Alex. I think that there is hallucination, particularly when you're asking it to go out onto the web to do research on something. What we found at Sonance is when we're using Claude Cowork, and what I love about Claude Cowork, you're not uploading a file to it, you're pointing it to a folder on your computer, and that folder can have spreadsheets and PowerPoints and PDFs in it, and you are not asking it to go out to the web and research anything, just to do knowledge work, analyze this spreadsheet, build me a dashboard, reformat this spreadsheet, build me a slide deck. We are seeing 100% accuracy in its ability to do knowledge work. We have not had a situation where someone is, and don't sleep on just opening up Claude inside of Excel. There are so many people that use Excel on a daily basis and don't even know that you can do this. And in natural language, even Excel experts will get time saving and unlocks of being able to format spreadsheets, analyze them, build graphs. And we are seeing 100% accuracy in that type of knowledge work every single time an employee uses it.
Love it. Nick?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just like trying to push people to go out and actually like push the limits of these models. Like, in your free time, spend an hour trying to see how autonomous this thing can run and work. Like, give it the most difficult task you could possibly imagine. Like, try to actually push the bounds of it as far as it'll go. And you'll start to learn of where these models are today. And then like over time, as you continue to do that over and over with every new model that comes out, just sort of learning those limits and being able to start to integrate those as best as possible. I think that has been the most valuable for me in seeing the team, and then just like encouraging others around you to do the same. Like the more you can get others involved in that process, the more you'll learn from seeing someone like figure something out for the first time or trial something for the first time that then just inspires you into like other things as well.
Awesome. Kyle?
Yeah, to Nick's point, be ambitious, be bold. I mean, one of the best books I've ever read was back in 2016, Peter Diamandis, his book, Bold. It's a great book. I kind of want to reread it because applied to today's day and age with AI would be fantastic. I guess to Ari and Alex's point, AI is really good at following instructions. So if something comes out that's not right, look at the instructions first, but every interaction should start with a human, end with a human. And if the outcome isn't right, just give it a deeper context for a more meaningful outcome and just check it.
Yeah.
Trust and verify.
Love it. And Alex?
I know I went first, but I'll just close on Kyle, definitely reread it because Peter was thinking about AI back then. I worked with Peter 20 years ago and Ray Kurzweil was in the mix and The Singularity is Near was being written at the time. So definitely AI that we know today is what we were thinking about when he wrote that book. So it's very relevant. But my takeaway for the group here, the listeners, is if you don't embrace this today, if you're not doing this now, your competitors are. This isn't a matter of think about it later, get to it later. You're going to lose a competitive advantage and you're going to basically see a negative impact on your business and your ROI if you don't start embracing this, understanding it, and leaning in. So you're already late, even if you've been doing it for a couple of years. So get into it, get going. And as these guys said, challenge yourself because you're going to do some pretty cool things.
Yeah. And if there's a takeaway from me, it's that there's a lot of people, particularly on this panel, a lot smarter than I on the topic of AI. And they are all happy to talk and they're all happy to share and provide, feedback or just be a sounding board for you. So I'd encourage y'all to reach out, whether LinkedIn, y'all know each other. So just stay in touch and don't feel like you're alone in all this either. So there's plenty of people and places to turn to learn more, educate yourselves on the topic of AI and how some really smart people are already implementing it. So Ari, Nick, Kyle, Alex, this was awesome. I appreciate it. Sorry to take up an extra half hour of your time, but I feel like it was very worthwhile. And, definitely look forward to following up with you all down the line, doing this again at some point. And for more, be sure, we'll be sending this out so you'll have access to it if you're a listener or attendee and all that good stuff. But be sure to keep it on connecteddesign.tech for more. So for now, y'all, I appreciate it. This was great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.